교육은 백년지대계라는 말이 있듯이 한 나라의 인재는 교육을 통해 양성되기 마련입니다. 특히 대학 교육은 인재를 키우는 가장 중요한 과정이고, 그래서 대학의 경쟁력은 국가 경쟁력을 결정하는 핵심 요소이기도 한데요. 전 세계적으로 대학 교육의 질을 높이기 위한 경쟁이 치열하게 벌어지고 있는 것도 바로 이 때문입니다. 유네스코 교육정보기술연구소는 각 나라의 교육 여건을 살펴보고 고등교육의 경쟁력을 높이기 위해서 노력하고 있는 국제기구입니다. 오늘은 유네스코 교육정보기술연구소의 덴데브 바다치 소장, 그리고 한국대학교육협의회의 황대준 사무총장 모시고 고등교육의 경쟁력을 높일 수 있는 방안에 대해서 이야기 나눠보겠습니다. Today we have KCUE Secretary General Hwang Dae-jun and UNESCO IITE Director, his name is Bадарч. It is a pleasure to have you here today. Thanks for coming in. Director Bадарч, I guess there are some viewers who are not familiar with the UNESCO IITE, so can you tell us about the objective of the IITE?
Yes, of course. Yeah. As you know, the education is a priority area for UNESCO. And UNESCO has established 7 institutes in the field of education in order to bring some good results and policy advocacy and capacity building best practices to the member states. So UNESCO IITE has established about 10 years ago. It has a mandate to provide the policy advice, capacity building, and the knowledge sharing to the member states in the field of ICT in education. So it's only one institute of UNESCO which has a mandate to work in the field of ICT in education.
And I would like to ask to Secretary General Hwang, Mr.
Yes.
Secretary, you're well known as a specialist of e-learning, smart education, and ICT. And I was informed that you're the first Korean to be appointed as an IIT governing board member.
Yes.
How are you related with the IITE from the beginning?
I actually, as you know, I took in president of CARIS. CARIS is the national institute in charge of promotion of ICT in primary and secondary education. So during my position as the president of CARIS, what we have done is to promote SIPE home learning system for primary and secondary education students, which was a nationwide e-learning system. And based on that, actually my effort as well as experiences as being an expert on e-learning as well as smart education, which was really just a high valued by UNESCO IITE. So that's why I'm just become join kind of the member of the governing board member, UNESCO IITE.
And Mr. Secretary, as far as I know, you were awarded during your term of the office at CARIS, which is Korean Education and Research Information Service. You were awarded from the French government. What kind of award did you receive from the French government?
During just my presence of the CARIS, we just try to promote e-learning for France as well as Korea. And based on that, the French government just recognized my activity as well as our activity relevant to promotion of the ICT as well as e-learning for each countries. As you may know, actually Korea has really good name in terms of the promotion of ICT in education. So, in terms of our effectiveness as well as in terms of the sharing our knowledge and experiences, it was really just good for a global community. That is the part of that the French government decided to just give big award to me.
Yes.
The IIT presents a way of utilizing ICT in education to UNESCO member states.
Yes.
Can you provide more details on this?
Yes. Okay. We are now in the knowledge society. So if you look at the young generation, so-called Y, Generation Y, those young people, they are using different kinds of ICT devices, gadgets, even before coming to schools. And this is the important the trends. The second is that in the schools and teaching and learning, there is a lot of potential to use ICTs efficiently to improve the quality of education. So that's why we are focusing to provide some policy advice and also to provide some best practices, what's going on in different countries, to the member states in order for them to have the positive impact of using ICT in education.
And Mr. Secretary, you published a book on e-learning
Yes.
and smart education and ICT in education, along with UNESCO report in English this March. And I heard that this book is widely used for educating ICT to the member states. What specific topics does this book cover?
Actually, I'm just I wrote just in a kind of the best practices, just the concerning of how to promote in e-learning as well as the ICT. And what we have done to promote ICT in primary and secondary education was really just recognized by UNESCO member countries. So just the UNESCO IITE asked me to write the book on how to share the best practices of the Korean cases. That is why I'm just decided to write it down. And the book contains kind of the policy as well as what kind of basic infrastructure will be needed, okay, to promote or to innovate our education environment through ICT, and what kind of experiences can be shared among UNESCO member countries. And the other thing is that what kind of the implications are in there. So because the implications really important for UNESCO member countries trying to just recognize the importance of the ICT as well as to promote the ICT for education innovation. And such kind of current experience was really just well recognized as well as well just organized in terms of efficiency as well as in terms of collaborations and cooperations. That is the point that the book was just right on that.
By your explanations, I understand that Korea's experience in ICT implementation is very related to IIT own mutually beneficial relationship. This question goes to both of you. What sort of bilateral relations are there between South Korea and IITE?
UNESCO is recognizing the Korean experience in the field of e-learning as one of the best practices in the world, especially in terms of the government leadership to implement such a big national project to introduce the e-learning or smart learning in education sector. That's why IIT decided to bring these experiences, Korean experiences, to the member states. And I have to say that this is the just first step to our fruitful cooperation, because Korea has much advanced compared with some other member states in terms of the using ICT in education sector. And also there is the one important issue is that government leadership. So government putting a lot of investment, not only investment but also very smart policy. That's why one of the key areas of Korean experience is the government leadership and very efficient implementation of the government policy.
How about you, Mr. Secretary?
Actually, what just we have taken for promotion of ICT and the e-learning was done by just taking a holistic approach, just through the collaboration just among the government and the private and the public sectors, and how to coordinate all kind of different things to orchestrate the efforts to be just aligned to one line and to one directions in terms of how to promote or how to use ICT as kind of a catalyst for education innovation. And a whole kind of the things we have done just during I think that more than 10 years, really just that UNESCO IIT wanted to have. So because it would be really just an important part of promotion of ICT in education. That's why UNESCO IIT wanted to have a collaboration, because it contains how to nurture the teachers' capacity as well as how to innovate education systems based on ICT. would be kind of the really important part.
And UNESCO IIT is gradually developing right now, and one of the main program you provide is teacher training program. Can you explain about that program?
Yeah. In the field of capacity development, our main focus is teacher training. As you know, the education has two important parts. One is the teachers who supposed to transmit knowledge to the students, and the second is the students who will accept or receive the knowledge from teachers. But what is happening now is that the using ICT in education is not bring that level of efficiency because of teachers. Teachers doesn't have enough knowledge and the skills to use efficiently ICT in education. That's why UNESCO has been working with the leading IT companies like Microsoft, Intel, Cisco, and produced the so-called ICT competency framework for teachers.
Mr. Secretary, I understand that IIT's main role is sharing education resources.
Yes.
But how do you manage intellectual property rights on this issue?
Actually, right now, it's emerging of the awareness to open access is kind of the key issue facing in the global communities, and just including in higher education institutions. In Korea is one of the countries where just an OER as well as OCW, open courseware, are really just popular in higher education institutions. But from the government perspective, actually, they have been running Korean OCW, just kind of a center where just carries just wanted to gather a lot of the contents from higher education institutions in Korea, and so. But the big problem is how to clear the intellectual property right relevant to open education resources as well as open courseware. As you may know, and openness is kind of the good, okay, but it contains a lot of just tricky problems.
Yeah, it has to limit it.
Sure. How to keep kind of authority of just the publications as well as authority of creations, just the two honors of the intellectual property right. So, and based on intellectual property right, just written down as kind of national law, we have just item 25 to actually stated that in Korea we allow whole kind of all right, okay, reserved for authors, but it isn't a kind of the right direction that international committee is heading for. According to international just community relevant to open educational resources for open access movement, just like Creative Commons, and actually they are trying to just implement some right reserved, not all right reserved for authors. So based on that, we also need a lot of looms to change our philosophy of just establishing our intellectual property right. So to that point, and how to honor just real IPR for authors, as well as how to expedite the sharing of knowledge and creations is really also important part. So we need to keep balance between them. Okay, that is really just important part.
Mr. Secretary, how about Korea? Are you satisfied with the level of South Korean educational authorities are allowing for sharing with other countries?
Just actually, Korea is one of the country just trying to encourage higher education institutions as well as all community, okay, to share knowledge as well as through the kind of education donations or technology donations is something just happening just around in every area within Korea. But from the university perspective, actually, we still have more looms to try to encourage, okay, the professor as well as the stakeholder to share their knowledge as well as the creations of publications, because it would be really just important part to globalize our university environment, okay, because there are so many the OER and the open educational resources just created by MIT as well as the Open University in UK, and just as you mentioned, and UNESCO IIT is one of the typical example of international organization. OECD is one of also global organization.
I guess it is going to be the last question for a day. We talked a lot about South Korea and IIT's role in global education. What would be your advice in further improving South Korea and IIT's bilateral relationship? Director, you go first.
I think there are a lot of potential for cooperation between South Korea and UNESCO. As a UNESCO whole, there are lots going on. So there are a lot of bilateral cooperation between UNESCO and Korea. But in terms of the especially for IITE, I think there is the potential for more cooperation. And so during this time, I have met the president of CARIS in Krivet. We spoke about some cooperation. One of the potential areas is the smart education, because UNESCO IIT is working with the UNESCO associate schools. That is another network of UNESCO for the school level. And we are initiating new project, School of Future or Smart School. And so Korean experience in the field of smart education would be beneficial for this project. And so we decided to invite experts from CARIS to our meeting in March next year to share the Korean experiences in the field of smart education or Korean plan for the smart education, and share with the other countries' school leaders. So that is the one area. The second potential area, I think the Korean companies, they are also supporting UNESCO activities. So I am hoping that there will be some joint projects supported by Korean companies and in the field of ICT in education. Or, for example, mobile learning is very important and a very promising area for future development. And the Korean companies like Samsung, they can be interested in such a project with the support of Professor Hwang.
I think that I'm going to just define not just kind of define, just suggest in a three different way. Like the first one is based on human resources and just exchanging human experts on ICT as well as learning, and including smart education as well. So the second part is how to share the experiences as well knowledge relevant to contents. Okay, it would be also really important for just the IITE to take leadership for CIS country as well as in whole just UNESCO member countries. The third one is I think that how to just to make a policy as well how to establish kind of just the system to orchestrate all kind of the activities dispersed in different areas. So it would be really important how to orchestrate or how to they harmonize or how to leverage all kinds of resources. It would be really important from the perspective of UNESCO IITE, because UNESCO IIT has is really important position in terms of not just the promotion. Okay, I'm going to just suggest to you UNESCO IIT to be kind of just the activator. Okay, activator to change whole system through the ICT. It is part of the theme as well as the goal of UNESCO IITE.
It is fascinating to know that UNESCO IIT is working so hard for higher education globally. This is all the time we have today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
네, 오늘 말씀 들어보니 한국 대학의 경쟁력 향상을 위해서는 대학과 정부의 유기적인 노력, 그리고 유네스코와의 긴밀한 협력도 필요한 것 같습니다. 특히 유네스코 교육정보기술연구소 IIT가 주도하는 국가 간 교육자원 공개 활용이 많은 도움이 될 것으로 보입니다. 앞으로 한국과 유네스코 교육정보기술연구소의 상호 협력을 기대해 봅니다. 감사합니다.